right, another week of Die Hard Jeff Die podcast, the podcast you've demanded, the podcast you've asked for. We got it. It's a little adjustment, little change in the game here. The podcast is now going to be open to the public, so share this with whoever you think might enjoy this. If you see, hey, I've been listening to this fucking guy. He makes a lot of sense. He's kind of funny. His name's Jeff Dye. Share the podcast. Share this link, share the thing. We're going to see how many subs we can get. We're going to see how we can grow this fucker so that you can get more episodes of Die Hard with Jeff Dye. Maybe someday I'll be like a Theo Vaughn or a Joe Rogan, and have a big podcast. We can go live. We can do live podcasts. We can do it over the internet where you can chime in. So let's start growing this little baby like a little plant. Let's grow this podcast. Share it with whoever you think might like it or whoever you think might be triggered by it. I just got back from AA, so my brain is in sobriety mode. I'm thinking about sobriety. I'm talking about sobriety. I just got back from hanging out with my drug and alcohol addict friends. So I thought I'd give you guys a quick update on my sobriety. I am 1 year, 10 months, 16 days, 14 hours, 23 minutes, and 30 seconds, 31 seconds, 32 seconds, 33 seconds. Sober. And I feel great, and I'm very, very happy. That means if you're keeping track of that, I am coming up on my 2-year anniversary of being sober, and it's been awesome. Let me just tell you, if you're thinking about getting clean, I know there's like a big sobriety movement, which is great. People are going, everyone's getting sober now. Yeah, probably because there's something to it. It's nice to be able to be present in a moment or clear or get good sleep. And I'm not trying to shame anyone that drinks or does drugs. I get it. I get why people do it. Drinking rules and doing drugs is great. And it's fun and a great way to hang out with people, and it calms your nerves. I get it. I understand. I'm just saying there's a lot of benefits to not doing it. Also, the older we get, the more time we lose, the closer we are to death. And I am, every second I'm alive, I'm a little closer to being dead, and I want to treasure each moment. I want to treasure each second. And if time really is our most valuable commodity, why spend any of that time being blacked out or hungover? Or, I can't tell you how many times I've met someone. I said, oh, it's nice to meet you. Just happened this weekend with a comedian named Jordan Jensen. I said, hey, I don't think we've actually ever met. And she goes, we've met like 3 times. And she was so disappointed or like upset with me about it. But in my mind, I was like, I don't know. So I was like, I guess just, sorry, maybe I was drunk. And she goes, yeah, I was at a comedy festival and everyone was drinking and doing drugs. But I was like, I felt so ashamed that I forgot that interaction or that I forgot whatever. So anyways, I'm happy to have all those moments. Now when I have a conversation with someone, I'm going to remember it. And if I shake a person's hand, I'll be like, hey, it was good to see you again. Like all those little things are making my sobriety seem so much more valuable. And if that seems like something you want, reach out to somebody. Reach out to me. I'm here to encourage you in whatever journey you're on. So sobriety is wildly popular right now. Everything in my life is going through a boom, Comedy's going through a boom, and I'm a comedian. Sobriety's going through a boom, and I'm sober. Being a cowboy and conservative ideas coming swinging back around, and I'm all those things. So it's a good time to be Jeffy. Speaking of which, the reason my cowboy hat's here is because I was wearing it all day, but I can't wear headphones with a cowboy hat, so I brought this Angels hat, which, fuck the Angels. But, this is like the nice Nolan Ryan symbol, and, I do like all 30 teams. It's just the 30th team I like. Actually, I think the Angels would be my 29th favorite team.
Can I guess the one, Billy?
Yes.
Astros.
Yep, nailed it. Yeah, fucking hate them. They're in my division. They cheat. They're whatever. City sucks. Houston. But this cowboy hat it's so interesting how many people feel the urge to comment on a cowboy hat. Wearing a cowboy hat really awakens everyone into feeling emboldened to tell you their opinion. It's insane. I wear it into the coffee shop and they're like, "What's with the cowboy hat?" Or like everyone's looking at me like, "What's with the like?" It's just a hat. In the South, it's called a hat. It's not that unusual to see someone wear a hat. You don't have to comment on it. I don't mind, by the way. It doesn't bother me. It's just fascinating, like as a human study, the need to go, "What's with the cowboy? What, are you going to a concert? Are you going on a boat? Why would you have a hat? What, are you going to a party? Are you trying to stand out? Are you trying to look different? What's with the cowboy hat? No boots? Cowboy hat and shorts?" I've heard every version of starting questioning about my cowboy hat. I'm like, there's a guy in a dress over there. No, nobody's commenting on that. Nobody's going, "Hey, what's with the dress, dude?" Or, "Hey, do you identify?" Like that. Nobody cares. There's a gang member with a koi fish tattooed on his face. I bet you didn't comment on that. People have gauged earrings. You're not going, "Hey, what's with the holes in your ear?" It's just a thing. It's just a hat. It's just fashion. It's just whatever. Who cares? And they go, "But you're not a cowboy." I know, yeah. Well, people wear Jordans. They don't play basketball. You don't go, "Hey, what's with the basketball shoes?" You're not playing I just don't understand the questioning of a hat. And I don't know why it inspires everyone. I mean, and this could be a regional complaint. I'm aware. I bet if I wore this in Oklahoma, nobody's saying anything. But it's just have the burden of living in very liberal Los Angeles, where a cowboy hat immediately means I must be racist or Republican or Christian or any of these things that I am. Just kidding. But it is weird that is, if we're trying to fight the human urge to profile or be prejudiced or to lump people into categories, that means it also falls on your shoulders to try not to be prejudiced or lump or put people into categories, no matter what that is. So, you'll say, "Well, I think that people that think like this are wrong." Okay, but you have to understand they think the way you think is wrong, right? We have to be all one on this. Why do you say, "Oh, I hate Christians, but I think like this"? And you're like, "Well, why are you allowed to hate the way they think?" That's a very strange. It's a very strange. You think that your prejudices are fine, but anyone else's prejudices are wrong. So it's either both. Either both your prejudices are wrong, or both your prejudices are socially acceptable, and that's okay. You don't get both. Or you don't get to pick one and not the other. It's very, very, very strange. I was just, speaking of cowboy hats, I was just in Lexington, Kentucky all week. Shout out to Lexington, Kentucky. What a club. Holy crap, I went to a place called Comedy Off Broadway, which I think it's fascinating that comedy on Broadway and comedy off Broadway would mean the same thing. Because the club is on Broadway, but it's off Broadway. It's perfect. It's a great name for a comedy club. It was in Lexington, Kentucky. It was very, 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 very fun. I didn't know that club's been around for over 40 years. We had a great time. Everybody kept warning me that Lexington is very liberal. It wasn't. At least not at the shows or the area I was staying in. It seemed very normal. It seemed non-politically denominational is what it felt like. It felt like just kind of a...
That's where we want to be.
Yeah, it's exactly what I like. It's it's not annoyingly left or annoyingly right. It was a very, very good town. The shows were awesome. A funny thing happened. I like to smoke a cigar before the show. That's a thing that I've become. It's become kind of a little ritual. I get the little nicotine hit, but then also it's just a good way for me to not be in my phone and just have a little thing before the show. It makes me think about the way I'm gonna perform and stuff, or what I'm gonna say. And this guy came up because people kept coming up and asking me for pictures because they're coming to my show. They put it together. "Oh, he's right here. Let's get a picture before the show." And this guy comes up and he's like, I don't know if he's homeless or down on his luck or what was going on, but he had all of his shit in a bag, and he was sunburnt, and he was like, "Hey man, how much is that comedy show?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know, I don't know what they're charging." And he's like, "Oh man, I just won a big bet. I got some money." And I was like, "Oh." I go, "Hey, I don't know." And then someone came out and took a photo. He goes, "Wait, are you the comedian?" I go, "Yeah, I'm the comedian." He goes, "Wow. Oh man. Well, I was going to come to your show." And I was like, "Well, I think this one's sold out, but I'll leave you tickets for the next show." So I leave this homeless guy. I think he's homeless. I'm not sure. I leave him tickets to the show. And what a mistake. I don't know what I was thinking. The guy was very like jittery and kind of like all over the place, and he didn't know how to like behave in a showroom, which I should have totally, talk about profiling and being prejudiced. I should have probably saw that one coming. I should have probably gone, yeah, maybe a homeless guy wouldn't do great in the showroom trying to be quiet, listen to a comedy show. He left the waitress. He didn't pay for his drinks that he ordered. And I was just like, what a mistake. So that sucked. But I tried to do a good thing. And so anyways, sorry to that server. Sorry to that homeless guy that I'm now bringing this up on the podcast. I'm sorry all around. I'm a sorry individual.
That's how all these comics are getting these crazy crowd work clips. Bringing a couple homeless people in. And
that'll
then,
do it.
What do you do for work, guy that I just gave free tickets to?
Yeah. Hey, what's this guy up to? Yeah, it's a little plant. Try to get some crazy people in there. It is fascinating the way these kind of clips keep popping up. I actually had a clip go viral just this week of me kicking out these girls at the Laugh Factory. Let's watch the clip.
Oh, you heard slavery and retard and you couldn't process the words in between the material? Were you too dumb to understand that I was making an analogy about Yeah. What are you guys sent by the fucking Census Bureau to go, we will police the words here? You're like the people who, I'll say, rape is bad, and then they'll go, he said rape! Yeah, I said it's bad, stupid. So fuck off. Get out. I don't give a shit. Leave. I'm the last comic. Go. Get out. I'm the last comic, and you obviously hate me, so get the fuck out.
Not every black person's offended.
Yeah, exactly. You're stupid. Please leave.
Not every black person is offended. Cool ass.
Whoa. I think you're the one with racial hang-ups. There you go. Thank you. Get the fuck out. If you can't hear jokes, there's a great slam poetry down the road. You can go that. That's probably better for your temperament. It's happened 2 nights in a row for me. What if that happens every night? I'm like, they roll with me. They're pretty cool. Great actresses, I hate that I'm last because now I have to go to the valet and just stand by them. Like, I'll take my car.
I performed at the Laugh Factory. The reason that this reminded me of is because you said, that I'm planting like a homeless guy or whatever mine is, and I joked that I planted these girls in the audience. There was these 3 girls, hated me a lot. I've never kicked anyone out of a show. That's something I'm proud to say. This was the first time I've ever done it. But the reason I did it is because it's in Hollywood, there's not like a headliner and a feature act and a host. The comics are just performing in like showcase style is what we call it. So it's like 10 minutes or 15 minutes or 20 minutes. And it's a bunch of comics on the list. Now there was like 12 comics and I was the 12th. So they already saw a bunch of comics they liked, and then I was the last one. So I was like, well, if these women are just going to be yelling at me and upset and hate me, and there's no other comic after me, and they already had a good show of 11 other great comics, then they can go. Because I'm not going to put up with it. Like I'm not robbing them of any show. It's not like when I get done, Tony Rock's coming on after me. Like, it's over. The show's over after my part, and they clearly hate me, so fuck off. That's why I kicked them out. The second part is they were so wrong. Like, they were so annoyed, and their attempt at making me look like I was being racist or insensitive was insane. The room was predominantly black. Like, the audience was black. Not that that's even important, but just the fact that the room was over half black. And they were all like, what are you talking about? This guy is doing well. The jokes are killing. The jokes are even on the right side of history. Like, the jokes are correct. And these women couldn't hear it. They were just so annoyed. And I think when the women first started to yell at me, the crowd was like, oh, these chicks just suck, but whatever. We're really not involved in this. And then the second she called the crowd coons for laughing at my material, that's when she lost them. I thought the crowd was going to like turn against this woman like in a mutiny. Like they were like, what the fuck she just called us? Like, it was insane that she would say that. An interesting part of the exchange also was that once security came to because by the way, the security, whether I'm right or wrong, is on my side because they're my friends. Like I know the security. I go to the Laugh Factory almost every night, so they're my buddies. When they hear that their friend Jeff is saying these girls gotta go, they gotta go. And so it happens to be that I was also right, but I was wanting them out. So the security's like, Jeff says they gotta go. Let's bounce these bitches. The girls started twerking. I intentionally cut it out of the video because I didn't want it to be about that. But these girls are like twerking while being removed. Like, we don't give a fuck. And like, I'm like, what has the world come to? Like, what kind of behavior is this? That you're being, the crowd hates you. The comic is annoyed with your behavior and wants you to leave. You're accusing them of being, whatever, for liking the comedian that they paid to see. And your thought is, I'm going to shake my ass to these people as I'm being removed by security. What type of people am I dealing with? Like, it was just so like embarrassing and gross. I will say too, I was like a little buzzed up from it for like hours after that. I had a spot at the Comedy Store afterwards, and I was like buzzing of like just having that conflict with someone, and then like the fear of going to my car like afterwards, like because they were so angry about it. I don't know. The whole thing was icky. These crowd work things aren't, I don't even know if that's crowd work. That's really just me having to engage with a heckler more than crowd work. But let's talk about another video that I had go viral this week. It has to do with crowd work. So let's watch that one. Not important, man. Please shut up. I don't do crowd work, all right? I'm not Matt Rife, all right? I wrote some shit. I was going to give it to you. I didn't ask anybody where they work or what the fuck. How long you been together? Next time you see a crowd work comedian, don't fucking talk to them. They'll crumble. Like, hey, where do you work? Just do your fucking jokes, man. They're like, what the fuck is happening? Stop talking to them. Crowd work is the biggest gaslight in the history of gaslighting. Because we are professional talkers and we have electricity. And you don't. And then they go, hey, how long you been together? And then like you'll be like, and like, you don't even know how long they've been together. Like, and now they're in a fucking fight on the way home. Like, what the fuck was that back there? Now they're gonna break up just because some fucking comic didn't write a joke. It's so annoying. No matter what they do, they'll make you look like a little pussy. Comic's like, what's with that shirt? And then you're like, it's just a shirt. And they'll be like, oh, Mr. Confident with his fucking shirt. But then if you're like, I don't know, I don't even like this shirt. They're like, you wore a shirt you don't even like? What the fuck? You're like, just stop talking to these mutants. Just make them do real comedy. I don't know why I did that. For no reason. Just crashed out. There's 7 comics in the green room and they're like, fuck this guy. I hate this guy. I don't like that he just did that. What a piece of shit. Let's have the crowd work conversation, because if you watch that clip and you're a crowd work comedian, you're probably like, fuck you, Jeff. Like, shut up. Like, and also crowd work is a huge part of stand-up comedy. I don't want to sound like Mark Maron or any of these guys who are just kind of like an old guard, like, do the real comedy, like I kind of imply in that video. And I want to be very, very clear about how I feel about crowd work. There are so many comics that are good at crowd work that I don't even think of them as crowd work comics. Matt Rife is great at crowd work. He's very, very, very good. That's why he's the face of it. Big J is incredible at crowd work. Jimmy Brogan, who has like a 50-year fucking career doing crowd work. Stavros, is that his name, Stavros? Very, very good at comedy. Very, very good at crowd work. Ian Bagg is a genius at crowd work. I wish he was more famous. If you go to an Ian Bagg weekend and there's 5 shows, go to all 5. They're going to be different from top to bottom because he's so good at the crowd work. Bob Zaney. There's plenty of examples of really, really, really good crowd work comedians. I'm not trying to shit on it. Stand-up comedy and crowd work and theater and much art there's like kind of a universal rule. when it's good, it's great. And when it's bad, it's terrible. So I'm really trying to criticize bad crowd work and lazy crowd work and fishing for material or fishing for clips crowd work. That's really what I want to criticize, but that's so nuanced and so complicated that it's just easier to go, fuck crowd work comics. Like that's what I'm trying to, say. Here's the thing with crowd work. It is a part of our industry. It's a part of what we do. That is 100% true. I just don't think it should be the whole act unless you're very, very, very good at it. There's the exception. If you're very good at it, let her rip. But like if you're just lazy and going, like I don't like that. Also, I think of crowd work as like a bunt in Major League Baseball. And I've used this analogy before if you listen to me a lot, but it's true. Is that like in baseball, when a player bunts, you're like, oh, this is going to be great. Like he's moving over a runner, or this is going to be a hit and run, or it's going to be a squeeze play, or there's plenty of great reasons to bunt. Before the new rules in Major League Baseball, the infield would be shifted sometimes, and a good bunt could get you on base because you were able to bunt the ball where there was no fielder. So there's all these exciting reasons why someone might bunt, and so bunts are good. But what if a team goes, every at bat we're gonna bunt? You'd go, no, that's too much bunting. Like bunting's only good if it's like selective and in spots, and that's how I think of crowd work. You don't want all crowd work. Like that's insane to my mind. Now, obviously, if you're so good at it, that's an exception. If you're a brilliant crowd work person, then I could probably watch all crowd work, but that's so rare and so unique. Here's the thing. I don't want to be one of these, old men yelling at the sky thinking stand-up comedy should be a certain way. But I do think there's a little bit of fatigue in my industry for all these crowd work comics. I could name a lot of names. It wouldn't be in my best interest to name the names of the comics that I don't think are doing it well. I'm not going to do that. Hopefully they just keep doing it and get better at it so that I eventually go, no, they're really good at it. And I changed my position. They've earned it. They've worked really hard at being good at it. But I will say I just named a bunch of people who are very good at crowd work that are awesome at it. And so no shade to Matt Rife. I used his name because can you think of a person more famous for crowd work? No. Matt Rife, that's the name. That is the guy who does crowd work, who is the most famous comedian in the world right now. So I've got to use his name because if I say I'm not so-and-so and name some small crowd work person that I don't respect, the crowd's going to go, who's he even talking about? So I had to use Matt Rife's name, even though I love you, buddy, and you're great. Yeah. Which kind of goes into what I was going to talk about anyways next, is that Mark Maron has been making the rounds, and Mark Maron and me are now, our beef's over, and that makes me very happy. It was hardly even a beef. I just wanted him to be my friend. I wanted his approval like a little daddy. I wanted daddy's approval, comedy daddy's approval, and I don't even know if I have his approval, but at least he's nice to me now, and we've broke bread and smoked cigars and made amends, and that's important and healthy and very good. However, I will say he's been going after a lot of people. It's not just him bringing my name up because of our little bullshit. He has called out the entire Rogan sphere. He called out Matt Rife. I don't know if he did it by name, but he definitely did it by call it crowd.
They've had it going on forever.
Oh, okay. And then
Matt even made a commercial, a promo back at Mark and played a janitor that was a parody of Mark and they've been going at it. Yeah.
So yeah, Mark has drummed up a lot of things, and I don't know if this is some pro wrestling strategy to get people to watch his special, or if whatever he's doing. I don't know. Maybe Mark genuinely just doesn't care. I don't know. And I respect Mark, and I don't want to have this feud keep going. But he did say something on the thing that I do want to address, and it isn't even about me, but it's just about one of his opinions, and I would love to. I'd love to talk about his opinion without shitting on Mark himself. I like Mark, and I've never intentionally been whatever towards Mark, but let's listen to what he said on Howie Mandel's podcast.
It's lazy and sloppy and hackneyed. To be in a club where, I'm walking down the hall at the comedy club, and, in one room, someone's doing their bit about trans people, and then I get down the hall and there's someone on stage going, well, I guess I got to do my bit about trans people. Like, no, you don't. You don't. It's hack now. I mean, you guys got the freedom you wanted. You can now say whatever you want. They're defeated. Their rights have been denied. The policies that you guys encouraged with your stupid material are now policy. And now, half the people under the umbrella of anti-woke, we've lost a tremendous amount of democratic-leaning ideas and movements. So whether they knew it or not, that's what they were spearheading. So now it's reality, and you want to still keep kicking them? Go ahead.
I don't know that the comedians have had that much power.
Are you out of your mind?
No, I'm being serious.
Joe Rogan. I'm not gonna.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
You can't separate. Like, if the movement is like, we're being censored. No, you're not. You're not. There's no constitutional censorship issue with your free speech. You say things, and in a democratic shit show of an environment, like Twitter or whatever, there's cultural pushback, but that's a specific issue. To frame it as some sort of free speech problem was a misdirect. It wasn't. It wasn't a free speech problem. It was that people were getting cultural pushback. That is not a constitutional issue. No one was being put in jail for saying anything. That's a free speech issue. But my problem is you're going to start talking about anti-woke, and that's going to be your point of view. That's going to be your ideological, grounding for what you do. Okay, that's fine.
All right, go ahead.
Why does it have to be that?
So I just want to challenge this idea and talk about it with you guys on here. It's like, I first disagree with the premise that Mark says, well, listen, trans people, they're defeated. They're not defeated. They're not defeated. What do you mean they're defeated? How? It's not over. All those issues didn't just go away. Just because Trump is in office, that doesn't mean like the subjects in which trans people are very verbal and outspoken about it didn't go away. They're not defeated. How are they defeated? What rights have they lost? Like, what things? So I disagree with the premise. He says, well, now you're kicking them when they're down, or it's hack to make jokes about them. One, no one gets to decide what we do and do not joke about, no matter what. There isn't a comedian on planet Earth that gets to decide that. Joe Rogan doesn't get to decide that. Dave Chappelle doesn't get. Mark Maron doesn't get to. Anthony Jeselnik. No one gets to go, hey guys, here's what we can and can't joke about. Hey, airline food is hack, so you can't joke about it. Trans people are defeated, so you can't talk about that. And if you do, you're a hack. Here's the thing. We can talk about whatever we want. And that's how it works. Now, the more a social issue is being talked about in life, the more it's going to be talked about on stage in jokes, because that's what relevance is. So for trans people to be relevant, or if trans people are relevant, then they would be a very common talking point in jokes. That's how jokes work. Because if everyone is talking about the Diddy files and the Diddy tapes, then there's going to be a bunch of comics talking about the Diddy tapes and the Diddy files. If the Olympics or what everyone's talking about, there's going to be Olympics jokes. Now, that means the more relevant the trans issue, for a lack of better term, is, the more there will be jokes about the trans issue. That's just how it works. Now, I don't think that anyone gets to decide what we do and do joke about. I think you should be smart. I think the jokes should be good. I think they should have some good arguments or some good punchlines or some good whatever. Now, the next part that he was talking about is that, like, these comics had so much effect on the social issues. Like, oh, you can't separate it. No one's being put in jail. There's just cultural pushback when you say these things in a democratic shit show. Here's the thing. Yeah, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. When you say something as loosey-goosey as like, oh, there's just social pushback, no one's being put in jail, I would argue some of the social pushback is worse than being in jail. If Louis C.K. was a victim of social pushback, you can't just go, well, so what? He didn't get put in jail. Yeah, but like losing millions of dollars that he was making, losing his reputation, like social pushback is nothing to just go, oh, that's nothing. It's a pretty big deal. So the issue of free speech, although it sounds like a legal term, is far more greater than constitutional enforcement of freedom of speech. There is a social rules, there's social laws, there's social understandings. We make an agreement every single day that we're all not going to say the N-word, right? And if people do say the N-word, then we got to treat them differently, because you go, man, we kind of made an unwritten agreement that you can't say the N-word. You don't go, oh, well, it's not like he went to jail. But there's going to be some damn fucking consequences if you go start talking like that. That is a problem, and we've made that agreement. And so the same thing is true when Joe Rogan or myself or anybody that Mark Maron maybe criticizes crash out about freedom of speech. We're not talking about a constitutional issue. We're talking about the parameters that people put on words. And the only reason we care about that is because we're stand-up comedians. And in fact, Mark, you should also care about that because you're a stand-up comedian. If people just started saying, hey, you can't say that in your act, you could be like, what are you talking about? Yes, I can. Yeah, I can say whatever the fuck I want. Like that's what makes comics great. I think it's also interesting that somehow it's unacceptable to make fun of issues like gay marriage, trans in sports. I'm trying to think of what is like abortion. Like, I guess these would be like hot button things that like if you made jokes about, people would go, hey, that's, you're going too far, 9/11 or like school shootings or abortion. I'm trying to think of, I think that's a good enough sample. Rape. Those are things that people might say, hey, I think that one joke was too far. Suicide would be another one. Cancer. So if you say those, like there might be a small group of people or maybe a large group of people in some settings that would go, that's too far. You've went too far making jokes about that. Or you were on the wrong side of it to maybe like make pro-life jokes, insinuating that if someone has an abortion, they've killed their baby. Like someone might go, that's too far. You shouldn't joke that, or that's hacky, or that's whatever. Well, those are just social issues. Why do I have to hear comics talk shit about Jesus Christ? There's nothing more dear to me than my religion, right? My faith is the most important thing to me, my walk with God. And I have had to hear comics shit on God and Jesus my entire career. And what do? When I was in Seattle, when I'm in LA, or when I'm on the road, I don't clutch my pearls and go, I can't really, I don't want to share a green room with so-and-so. Did you hear what he said about Jesus Christ? No, I have to go, hey, not everyone believes what Jeffy believes. Not everyone lives the life that I live. Not everyone has the same individual experience or cultural whatever or privileges or what. Not everyone has this. So I don't get to be a little baby when someone thinks differently than me. Okay, so if this comic is an atheist and thinks people that believe in Jesus are dummies and thinks the Bible is nonsense, that is their right. And that is totally okay for them to make funny jokes about on stage for an audience at their own risk. Now, Jeff thinks trans people they're part of society, and I love them, and I don't think anyone should hurt them or be mean to them or take their rights away or anything. But I also don't just think you can think you're a woman, and that is my right, and I'm going to make jokes about it because I find it kind of funny to see men in dresses and these things. So I'm not trying to wish harm on anybody or push a narrative, and if you want to use terminology like that, why don't I get to go, well, you're pushing the narrative against Jesus, and you're pushing the narrative against Christians. We don't do that because it's comedy, and comedy is the Wild West. Comedy is an open room of ideas, and we're going to be trying out some ideas, and some ideas might miss, and some ideas might be great, and some ideas whatever, and we hope that they're all damn sure funny. But that is the understanding we take. So you don't get to pick what we will and what we won't be talking about, even if you are the comic. So I'm shocked that any of these comics, and I will say they're mostly like left-leaning comics or very like liberal guys like Mark Maron, who seem to go, well, you can't say that and you can't say this. I'm like, why would you even want to be on that side of the argument of what we can and can't say? Oh, no one's putting you in jail, man. And it's like, yeah, I know. Nobody's talking about jail. We're talking about you going on podcasts and criticizing someone for talking about a subject. These are very important subjects. We should be making jokes about them. We should be moving the social, the social boundaries to whatever we think we should. That's how it works. That's how life works. So I don't know. I'm trying not to get into more beefs with any more comics. I'm so exhausted. Let me tell you something that I'm going through personally. I have made a lot of mistakes in my life and career, nothing criminal, but just, misrepresenting myself or saying, I'll give you an example of something I regret. There was a comic who's called me a bunch of names behind my back and said a bunch of terrible things about me, and it hurt my feelings. And instead of just dealing with it like a fucking grown-up, I drank a bottle of whiskey and saw her in the hallway at the Comedy Store and flipped her off to her face and said, "Fuck you. I know what you say behind my back. Fuck you." And I was right. She does say a lot of things behind my back, and I did feel like telling her, "Fuck you." But then I woke up the next morning like I used to do all the time in my drunk, hungover, whatever, and I was like, that was wrong. I shouldn't have just flipped a woman off to her face, and I shouldn't have said that. A grown-up, a mature person, the man I aspire to be, would probably have had like a conversation and said like, why are you calling me all these names behind my back? And, I've never really done anything to you. Why would you say that about me? But instead I tried to be the cool cowboy and flip a girl off and tell her, fuck you to her face. I'm standing my ground. I'm not going to be bullied. And instead it just made me the bully. It made me look like a fucking asshole. So I sent her a very long apology on Instagram saying, I'm sorry. That's not how I should have handled that, and I'd love to chat with you. And she intentionally ignored that message. I got her personal phone number and texted it to her, and she ignored that. I had the exact same copy and paste text message sent to her from our mutual friends, and she ignored that because she doesn't want to like me, and she doesn't want to make amends or get along. Her name is Liza Traeger. She has no interest in being my friend, but I am sorry to her that I flipped her off and said that. Now, that being said, I didn't appreciate her calling me a bunch of names behind my back and saying terrible things because I am a nice guy at the end of the day, despite how I represent myself, especially when I was drinking. Now, I started this to say why what I'm kind of going through mentally. This will make sense, I promise. In comic books, the way it worked is like Stan Lee made all these superheroes, and then it became this huge thing. The DC and the Marvel universe became huge, and it, over those years, almost a century, I think. I mean, it's been a long time. These comic books have gotten huge. Like Captain America is a full-fledged thing. Spider-Man is its own these are all franchises. They went from drawings to being these huge things. So over the years, Spider-Man has been drawn by many people, and they kind of license out Superman, or they license out Spider-Man, and different comic book artists will draw them in their own ways, right? They'll draw the comic book guys. And so over the years, you have 20 different Hulks, and you have 50 different Batmans, and you have all these different things. And so one genius, I don't know who it was, maybe it was a team of people, tried to find a way to justify this in the canon world. Like, they were like, how can we justify this, that there's so many different Spider-Mans, And the way one of the ideas they came up with is like a multiverse. And I hope that I described this well. It's basically that there's like all these different dimensions. And so in one dimension, maybe Spider-Man's a divorcee who's kind of like a drunk guy who misses Mary Jane. But then in a different universe, he has Mary Jane and he's in love and they have their own stories, being together. And then in a different universe, Spider-Man is a teenager who's a black kid named Miles, and he's whatever. He's like figuring out how to be Spider-Man. And then in a different universe, Spider-Man's a girl. And in a different universe, Spider-Man's a cartoon pig that is from like the 30s or 40s or whatever. So the multiverse was a beautiful way to describe why there's so many different Batmans and so many different Spider-Mans. It was this genius idea. And you've seen it get copied. You know, like now Mortal Kombat has it, where they don't say it's a multiverse, but they go, oh, there's many timelines. In this timeline, Scorpion is this. And in this timeline, Raiden's not a god. And you've seen this kind of idea kind of be contagious because it's so brilliant. What if there were many Mike Nells? What if there were millions of different Jeff Dyes in different dimensions, in different multiverses or different timelines? Now, the reason I'm sharing all this is because that's true. That is how the world already is. Not multiverse and not different timelines, but there are so many different versions of you. There's so many different versions of me. There are people who went to high school with me who have never seen me since, who go around every day, and when my name gets brought up, they're like, oh, I know Jeff Dye. You know, he's always talking about baseball, and he would always, break windows, just because he was trying to be naughty. I know all about Jeff Dye. And then you talk to my ex-girlfriend, she'll be like, I hate Jeff Dye. He's a narcissist piece of shit. Like, I know all about Jeff Dye. And then you talk to my best friend, and he goes, dude, there's nobody better than Jeff Dye. He's so nice, and he's my friend, and he's there for me when I'm down. You're living in all these different people's brains at all times. There are so many Jeff Dyes just walking around. We're in a multiverse. If you could go ask 100 people about me and get so many different versions of me. Now that I'm sober, now that I'm clear, now that I'm doing this podcast and I'm doing stand-up and I'm living this incredible life where I'm very, very grateful and blessed, I'm having trouble coming to terms with all those other Jeff Dyes that I regret. I am so sorry for the Jeff Dye that lives in Liza Traeger's brain. I am so sorry for the Jeff Dye that lives in, my ex-girlfriend's brain. I have so much tremendous regret for the Jeff Dyes that I've been when I was drinking or when I was doing any of these things. And then there's a lot of Jeff Dyes I'm really proud of. I'm like really grateful for how my buddy Tyler Barker sees me, or the way that like a lot of young comics are like, when Jeff Dye came to town, he helped us and he bought us drinks and he was nice to us. And I'm very proud of a lot of them. But I'm also wish that I could kill the idea of some of these Jeff Dyes in the multiverse that we exist in. So that's something I'm working on, something I've been struggling through. And the Comedy Store has really drummed up a lot of those feelings and a lot of those old Jeff Dyes. Because now that I'm past at the Comedy Store, there is so many people at the Comedy Store who that's their thing, that's their fraternity. The Comedy Store was their shit and I wasn't in. And that's what they had. They're like, I'm on the wall. I'm at the Comedy Store. We don't got Jeff Dye around here. And now Jeff Dye's around there. And they got a new person bopping around on their stages. And it's the one thing that I'm kind of in their living room now. And so it's I'm constantly walking around going, some new kid in a new school kind of feeling. But it's been getting better, and I'm trying my best to not be a defensive little bitch about all the situations and just try to like blend in and have fun and be nice and tell my jokes. Which the other night on Monday, I'm not sure when this will come out, but on Monday, we had Names Night. My name was officially put on the Comedy Store. I've been immortalized. I was teary-eyed about it when they told me it was going to happen, and I got teary-eyed that night, not in the building, of course, but when I got home and just started reflecting on a goal being achieved or a chapter being closed. I am on the wall. I'm on the Comedy Store wall. That feels really, really good. It was so fun. I'd like to name all the people who also got on the wall that night. It's kind of considered like my class or whatever it's called. If that's a term they're using over there, I don't know. Also, if you don't know about the Comedy Store, your name when you're a paid regular gets put on the wall, but it's very hard to become a paid regular there. It's very lengthy and complicated process. But it was originally because Mitzi Shore wanted to compete with Bud Friedman at the Improv. And she wanted to create her own Hollywood, Walk of Fame. Since the Improv was on the Walk of Fame, she's like, I'm going to make my own Walk of Fame of the people that play my club and put their names on the wall if they're, if they've passed my little rigmarole, passed my little comedy gauntlet by Mitzi. And so it's very tough. So here are the comics that were honored and their names were written on the wall. Zach Ciappelloni, Nicole Buchanan, who's awesome, by the way, and very sweet. Torio Van Grohl, who has one of my favorite bits ever about an affogato. He's so funny, and anyone who's ever waited tables would love that bit. It's so funny. The great Matt Rife. He's on the wall, baby. So, of course, very well deserved. I was just talking about him. Jordan Jensen, very funny female comic. I don't know why I said female, just a funny comic. She's great, very, very funny. Felicia Folks, she performed right before me that night, and she is very, very funny. Who has got? Ramsey Badawi, Adrian Appalucci. I think that, can we look her up? I think if that's who I think it is, she's one of like my favorite people, but she wasn't there that night. Appalucci. Oh, that's not who I thought it was. But oh, yes. Sorry, that picture does not look like her. Yeah, Adrian Lappalucci. I don't know how to say it. But yeah, I met her when I did Kill Tony in Austin, and she's very, very funny. She's got a great, but she wasn't there to be honored. So that's why I didn't put the name and the face together, but she's very funny. Robbie Hoffman, who's awesome. She's so nice and so funny. Chris C.P. Powell, Frankie Kionis, Jeff Dye, Sam Morrill, very great comic in New York, and Nick Thune, the 206, me and him. So anyways, that was a very, very special night that will forever be remembered in my mind and cemented as a comedy. Not a lot of victories in our business, and so you take them when you can get them. And I'm very, very grateful and very, very happy. So if you go by the Comedy Store, next time you're there, swing by the parking lot where everyone hangs out, take a peek over the wall, you'll see my name on there. Let's go to my website real quick, and I'll tell you where you can come see me. This week, I'm in Dallas, Texas on Friday. 2 shows. Early show is sold out, but so Dallas, Texas on Friday. Fort Worth, Texas on Saturday. Then the weekend after that, I'm going to Royal Oak, Michigan, Detroit, basically, at the Comedy Castle. Then I'm off to Lansing, Michigan for the Grewel Hall. Grewel Hall? I don't know. Then I'm in New York, one night only, The Stand, New York City. Very excited to be performing there. That club is awesome. The Legion of Skanks shoots out of there, and I was like, dude, I'd love to do a show here. They're like, we'd love to have you. So I'm very excited about that. And then for the rest of my dates, just go to jeffdye.com, new website. You can see all the shows I'm doing. I love you guys. Thanks for being here. Share this with someone you think might like it. And let me know your thoughts down below. Tell me what you think about all the things I said. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have nothing to say and you just want to say hi? That's okay too. Love you guys. Thanks so much for being here.